But it could become son and mother rather than mother and son. Mark Williams is an internationally recognised professor of cognitive neuroscience. He's based here in Australia. And he's expressed concern about a growing number of young people being diagnosed with the disease, dementia, that is. US researchers revealed a rise of almost 400% in the number of cases of dementia in the 30 to 44-year-old age group. In people aged 45 to 54, the rise is around 300%. And Dr. Williams suspects that there are probably a lot of people in their 20s and 30s who haven't been diagnosed yet but are staring down the barrel of dementia pretty quickly. The youngest patient he knows of was 19. So you might ask, why such a drastic rise? Well, he says, quote, "It is because of the fact that we are no longer using our brains the same way we used to. We don't need to calculate anymore. We don't have to consider anymore. We don't have to argue with people anymore. We don't have to connect with people anymore in the real world." What is going to happen with the 10 to 20-year-olds who've spent their whole lives on devices? What is going to happen in 10, 15 or 20 years' time? And that is a really scary thing to think about. And Kel, not to say that you're the old man on the panel, but
I'm pretty comfortable if you say that.
I'm leading up to a point. I'm leading up to a point here. You are of an age where you would probably know people who have developed dementia in their later years. They might be friends of yours, whatever. I would not think that I would know anyone who in the next, well, I do know people, but people I went to school with are not going to have dementia, I would have thought, in the next 20 or 30 years. But maybe that's something we are looking at now. It's not something that you go, OK, well, I might have to deal with that when I'm older. This could be you're 50 years old, far more common than it is today.
You're right. All of the increases in younger age groups, and you're quite right, us baby boomers were not on screens when we were young. We are going to have to do the thinking for the rest of you. Okay? Now, look, let me explain. There are two quick points. The first is we have to understand that society does not control technology. Technology controls society. Yeah. Every new technology reshapes society. Cars turned mobility on its head. Even in the 1400s, when printing was invented, Marshall McLuhan has shown in a brilliant book called The Gutenberg Galaxy that when printing and books became widely available, the way human brains work changed. We started thinking more sequentially, more logically. We are now losing that. So we have to understand technology does things to us. So we need to say, OK, what can we do about it? I think this is onto parents. Parents have got to stop using screens as babysitters. So you don't put a game on your phone and give it to your toddler to keep your toddler quiet. It is destroying their brain. It is possible to stand up and make it. When our kids were young, we banned television Monday to Friday. Now, they hated it, and our daughter said to us, "Dad, if I don't watch the soapies, I'll have nothing to talk to the girl at school about." So, but we did it. We enforced it, and they shrugged their shoulders and thought, that's our parents, and they put up with it. And my son used to record 5 episodes of Doctor Who and binge watch them on a Saturday. But you can work out rules, you can work out ways to do it, and you stop using screens as a babysitter and you say, this matters, my child's brain matters. Unless parents make a decision, I think we're going to go into a dangerous place.
And this is something we're going to have to wrestle with, Holly, is the idea that, obviously the federal government's social media ban, which I've had misgivings about, but that doesn't kick in, at 16 you can get on the thing anyway, and that doesn't stop kids from actually using devices. But what we may need to talk about here is that having a device for a child, whether they're on social media or not, could be far more damaging than we ever thought possible.
Well, I actually felt the great irony was that I was actually reading the article about this while scrolling through my phone. So, we're learning these things and we all do it and we're all on it all the time. I can tell you, though, if you want to come and work at the pub, you have a lot less time on your hands to read your phone. So I'm finding a lot less screen times happening in my household at the moment. But, it is very important, I think, when we address dementia, that we start to look at what are the genetic factors around it. How do we actually understand how it works? We are seeing it as the biggest killer in Australia. My mother had dementia as early onset in her 60s, and it went on for a very long time, and it was awful. My father was diagnosed, and I honestly think he willed himself to death because he didn't want to go through it and was gone within 3 months. It is an awful thing. I don't have cancer in my family, but I have a lot of dementia and Alzheimer's, and I'm sure there's some people out there going to go, yep, I can see that clearly now. But
they wouldn't say that,
Holly. All those lovely fans of mine.
I told you that last week.
I know, Darren. But no, I mean, it is our biggest killer, and I think that there's so much research that goes into cancer. There's so much research that goes into other areas that do affect everyday Australians, where there's a lot of cure and a lot of prevention that's been made, and we're not necessarily seeing that work being in dementia. I mean, the only upside of dementia is the person that has it, once they get over that original fear and know that it's happening to them, they tend to be in quite a very happy place. It's actually the families around them and the impact it has on families that's significant. And any more work on dementia, I'm very, very happy to see.
100%. When you look at this sort of information, Darren, the word of a serious expert saying, look, I think this is where we're going. As a parent, that must concern you greatly.
It does. And look, I've been in touch with my daughter's school this week about limiting, well, collectively, teachers plus parents, we have to monitor my daughter's screen time over the summer because it's gotten out of control.
Yep.
And when you look at the little peaks and troughs, she gets it late at night and turns her phone on when everyone's gone to bed, and there'll be a bit of TikTok and a bit of this and that. We're pretty excited about the social media ban. I was quite apprehensive too, but I do think it provides some structure and sort of almost leadership at a societal level. You can say, well, the government's doing it, other families are doing it, we all need to give it a try. And my daughter's pretty resistant, as you'd expect. Now, there's also problems with, you know, perfectionism, like this perfect world that's put to you by social media. Everybody looks perfect, everybody behaves perfect, they have a perfect life. You know, oh, let's go on holiday here, let's have a beach house there. Life's not like that.
No.
And it's given an artificial reality to a lot of young people. So whether or not dementia's part of it, it worries me that false reality that is sold and the pressure that that then puts back on young people in their own mind to conform to those ideals. So I don't think we know what the long-term effects are. But I agree with Kel that perhaps if the printing press made us smarter, I'm not sure the internet's had that same effect. They promised it would, but I don't.
Well, and see, the thing about the internet is it's made it so much easier to get hold of so much more information, but that hasn't necessarily made us smarter. In many ways, I think the openness of the internet has made us more insular, which hasn't been a good thing. But you'd like to think now that this, I mean, this is going to be, if you're seeing numbers like 400% spikes in young people with dementia, I mean, they've got to be throwing everything at us.
It's scary. These numbers are so concerning. And to your point, when you have got the internet, it means you don't have to think. So even when you're trying to remember a fact, or even the other day you had a song playing on during the late debate and I couldn't remember the show and I Googled it and I thought, no, I should have remembered that myself. It was just Married with Children. But we should know that. But instead of actually using our brain, we're quickly going and Googling. And it's now, dementia is now officially the leading cause of death in this nation. And what was also really concerning in that article was about the IQ level is on a 10-year national decline. And there is a correlation between ADH diagnosis in children and screen use. So I'm with you, Kel, in terms of limiting screen time. In our house, though, they still get TV, but it's now the iPad is only used on a Friday afternoon after school, just to ensure that they don't get addicted.
Yep.
But I got to say, when I read this article, the first thing I did was Googled, what can I do to avoid brain decline? So my family, we're going to all learn a language. So there you go.
Can I throw in a quick fact, which a lot of people may not know? The education system is making it worse. The education system is putting kids on screens in schools. You don't learn from screens. It doesn't happen. They use a program called Reading Eggs. Now, you can go right through Reading Eggs and it doesn't do 1% of what learning to read books does. So, but the education system thinks we'll get them on screens, it's good for them. It's bad for them and they need to wake up.
And of course, Jamie's kids are tuned to Sky News every day.